your teaching background? Subjects, grade, any specialties?
So I started out actually teaching in general ed. I taught second grade reading for 2 years. Then I taught third grade reading. And then I taught kindergarten through second grade special ed as a resource teacher in a Title I public school on the west side of Oahu. And now I live in San Diego and I teach at a non-public school, the San Diego Center for Children. We are a short-term residential treatment center with an academy attached where I work at. And I taught upper elementary for about 2 years in a self-contained classroom, and now I am a resource teacher, so I serve all students kindergarten through 12.
Do you like having everything prepared at the beginning of school year, or do you plan as you go?
Okay, I don't know if it's because I'm a type B teacher, but I focus more on my room being prepared and things being organized, otherwise you are screwed for the rest of the year. And I really only like to plan out the first 2 to 4 weeks, because honestly, you need to wait and get to know your kids, assess your kids, even if they come in with assessments, whatever. Otherwise, you're just gonna be doing double the work.
Smart. What expectations do you establish at the beginning of the school year for your students?
So the first 2 weeks, I focus, honestly, purely on routines and expectations, where finished work should go, if you need help, how you ask, if you need to take a break, where you go, and for how long you can go. Just any little thing like that comes up. I try to keep the schedule the same for 2 weeks straight, just so they get into a habit of, hey, when we come in, this is where we put our things. This is, what I'm doing right when I get in, my bell work, whatever. If I need supplies, this is how I get them. Just really kind of the mundane housekeeping things, but honestly so essential for just having a smooth rest of the year.
What specific things do you do so that every student feels worthy, cared for, and heard?
So the biggest thing in my classroom, especially for the population of students that I work with, is to really stress that we are a family, and that this is a safe space. Commend them for being vulnerable, really creating opportunities for them to share and to be vulnerable. We like to do a lot of things with positive affirmations. We read inclusive stories. Honestly, most of all, as a teacher or just any staff member working with a student, just show up when you say well. I have a student who has a lot of trouble transitioning home at the end of the day, and sometimes when he's struggling, I'm like, hey, when you're gonna go home, whatever, finally it's on the bus, but I will be here first thing in the morning. You'll be the first person I see, and I will be here waiting for you. You say that, you better make sure you're the first person that kid sees in the morning.
Yeah.
So I do that. I'm waiting for him the next day to come back, and just someone make sure they know you're there for them. You have to follow through on those kinds of things, and that really goes a long way.
During a lesson, what strategies do you use to ensure that the students have attained the knowledge before moving forward?
Honestly, the two simplest and I think the most effective ways and the easiest ways to do that are throughout the lesson, checking for understanding, just asking kids throughout, trying to gauge throughout where they're at, and at the end doing an exit slip. Love exit slips. Just that way you can just inform your instruction for the next day, and they're super easy.
What do you think are appropriate ways to give feedback to students?
I think it depends on the feedback and on the student. For something really minor and the student is okay being corrected in front of other people, just doing it in the moment. For students who, that might make them really uncomfortable or embarrassed, or if it's, a much bigger correction, like an essay or something, working with them one-on-one. If you have the luxury of, time and staffing to do that, that's honestly the most effective and my favorite way.
Also, what kind of technology do you prefer that helps deliver the instructions?
Smartboard all day long. I don't know how people taught without them. That way, videos, audiobooks, they can come up and they can, get that sensory, multimodality, moving things, teacher jargon, and a dot cam if you don't have digital version of things. That's always a good backup. But yeah, smartboard all the way.
What do you do to understand a student's individual background?
So impromptu conversations, I think, are the best way. Like, you're walking them out to the bus, or if they're eating, before school, they're eating breakfast, just sitting down talking to them. I always love to talk to their previous teacher. At our school, all of our students have therapists, so they're usually a huge help. At the beginning of the year, I always make a phone call home to a parent. Hey, tell me about, so and so. What motivates them, whatever. If it's a culture I'm unfamiliar with, I'll try to research it or whatever. Socioeconomic status too is really important to be aware of. So just.
Have you ever done any like projects that like show students' background, like to show off to the class?
Like have them do a project on their
culture.
Definitely. We do a lot. Like each month, like we'll do a Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History, like really big on those. But usually I'll have them do like an individual project too, on their heritage or ethnicity.
How does your school make sure that students, teachers, and administrators feel connected as a community?
So during COVID, a lot of our teachers made Instagrams, and our school made one, and that was a really fun way for parents to feel connected and the kids to still feel connected. As far as like staff and students, we do a thing called praise notes. So like, I praise so and so for doing this, and it's just a cute way to like, you leave one on a kid's student's desk, and leave one on yours, whatever. But honestly, it can be really hard as a school and like and parents and students to feel connected, because we have a really transient student population. We might have a kid for a month or for 2 years, so it really just depends. But we do, for staff, we do a big like staff appreciation celebration every May, which is super fun. We're always trying to do like a Secret Santa type thing or brunch. You find little ways.
What strategies do you use to celebrate good behavior in the classroom?
So my main strategy for positive reinforcement in the classroom is Aloha Bills. It's classroom money they can use to buy things in a little student store, which is full of tangible and non-tangible items. So they can buy, maybe like slime, all them like slime, or they can buy time with their preferred staff. And so, I'll throw in a surprise preferred break. Hey, you all, we're so respectful and crushed it on your math right now. I'm gonna throw you a surprise 10 minutes free time on your Chromebook. And they love it. We also have a lot of programs embedded into our school program. We do a thing called Peace Builders. So if you catch a student standing up to bullying or just making good choices, whatever, they get recognized at a school by assembly at the end of the week. They get a t-shirt, they get a little certificate, and they feel super proud, being called out in front of everyone, and it's cute.
That's so cute. What is your strategy on handling disruptive behavior?
So at first, usually strategic ignoring, just don't give attention to it. If it continues, I like to remind them of, whatever incentive they're working towards. Like, hey, you have, a preferred break after this. Like, you don't want to have to owe time or owe work, because you're being disruptive. Because usually, like, if they are being disruptive and they miss work or they're being disrespectful to classmates, they have to write an amends note. A big thing our school does is writing your wrongs, so we hold them accountable for that. If it escalates from there and they're still just being too disruptive or distracting to the other students, I'll ask them to take space on the patio. We have a little fenced in area on the side of our classroom, and it's a nice area where kids can kind of just go out, de-escalate a little. We can have a private conversation like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, really, like, find out what this behavior is stemming from, and then go from there.
What strategies do you use to avoid that there's no instances of harassment among the students?
I really try to foster an inclusive classroom community, really celebrate differences. And honestly, my kids are usually really great at that. But if there is an instance of harassment, they're prompted to make amends with that peer, and if it continues, we'll usually have a restorative circle and go from there.
What are things a teacher can do to grow professionally or stay engaged in this profession?
Honestly, I think it doesn't always have to be formal. Like whether it's just talking with another teacher in your school and exchanging ideas, or like I have teacher friends in Hawaii or back on the East Coast. Like, hey, what are they doing at your school? Like to me, it's form of professional development in its own. I always love to take advantage of any professional development my school is willing to pay for, and just
like tests and that kind of stuff?
if I want to go for like another cert, yeah, or like this summer I got certified in Orton Gillingham, a reading program, which is it's really great for students with dyslexia.
Oh.
Got my school to pay for it, and if just reading, like even if it's just an article on Facebook, like I don't know, you're just you're engaging no matter how big or small or formal or informal.
So that kind of goes to my next question. Are there any examples, such as books or workshops, that have inspired you to become a better teacher, or like any specific examples of books that you like?
I just read Who Moved My Cheese the other day, and it's all about, like, obviously teachers are flexible, like just by nature of being a teacher, but sometimes it can be really hard to accept change at school, like when they move, aides to different classrooms. I'm like, no, I cannot function without this person.
Yeah.
It can be really hard. But this book was kind of about changing your perspective on things when it comes to like tough changes in your job. So
cool. And last question: what are your top 3 goals you would like to accomplish by the end of the year?
So in my new role as a resource teacher, I'm not only a resource teacher for the kids, but I'm also acting as like a resource to other teachers. So my goals this year are a little kind of more like housekeeping things. Like I want to revamp our data collection system for incoming and outgoing students. I want to organize our new room with materials and resources for teachers to just, hey, I need something on main idea. Come in, grab a couple things and go. Just make life easier for them. And also help better mentor our new teachers. We have a massive teacher turnover rate, and I would love to really help, be part of that change to help them stay. So.
Sweet. Yay!